I'm here at Daytona Milton Keynes for a 3-hour endurance race. Now you might know I haven't done a lot of karting, so I've brought a secret weapon. And that's this guy, Brad Philpott, multiple karting champion, Nurburgring winner and all-around nice guy. He doesn't know it, but I've recruited him so that we could have a shot at winning this race. So it's going to be myself and Brad, two of us taking on this 3-hour endurance race. This is multi-class, so there's the Sodis, which are 4-stroke standard rental karts, and then there are 2-stroke D-Max karts, similar to a race kart, but arrive and drive. Daytona are the only place in the UK that run this kind of 2-stroke kart, where you can just arrive and drive it. So they invited me to check it out, and they've got a few upgrades on the kart. We'll get into that later.
So I got a penalty, which I don't agree with.
So we sent Brad out in practice to see what these conditions were like, and he had a few words of warning.
As expected, it's extremely slippery. We're looking alright so far, from my side at least. Over to you, Callum.
Right, so the point is, it's obviously completely deathly slippery. There's no grip. If you go into a corner slightly too quick, you'll go directly into the wall.
So with those pointers, I hopped into the kart, got it started, and we were off out. Now, after trundling down the pit lane at 2 miles an hour, we were out onto the track, and let me tell you, these words of warning were still ringing in my head, but I wasn't quite ready for how little grip there was. Look at that. Understeering completely off the circuit, and wherever there was areas of rubber that had built up over previous races, it was so slippery. But we knew what this practice session was for. It was about learning for me here, in that Brad is going to be fairly on the pace no matter how much practice he's had. He's only had a couple of laps, and so the best time investment was for me to get in the kart and learn as much as I could. And I was just trying to absorb where the grip was, where it wasn't, and try and build up a picture in my head of where I should be driving the car and kind of get myself into a rhythm, so that once I hopped in for the second stint of the race, I could get going straight away. But that was cut short. We see a red flag here. We have to pull over and stop.
Take a look at this. This is really cool. So, information system on the car. Brad was doing a 97. I'm doing a 104 here. Still not up to speed, but got a lot of time to gain.
Now, once that red flag had cleared, we got back out on track, pushed now for a couple of extra laps, trying to learn where are the overtaking spots against the Sodis, where can I pick up time, and really trying to grind down that time that was showing up on my driver information display, and just see how close to Brad I could get before I pulled in at the end of practice. Right, that was a baptism of fire. Obviously really tricky conditions, other people were spinning, there's lots of traffic, and I've got to get used to how this thing handles. And just like that, it was time for qualifying. Now, because there are so many karts in this endurance race, Daytona run things a little bit differently, and they give you one shot qualifying, and this is it. So you've just seen me take up most of the practice time we had as a team, and so Brad is going out here almost completely blind after the track has dried up a fair bit, and you can see he is pushing hard, but still having to learn where the grip is. Compared to some of the really very professional teams we were racing here with awnings and teams and team managers and radio systems, Brad was going into this a little bit blind, but still doing an incredible job. As you can see the different lines he's using and just how much more speed he is using compared to me, keeping the momentum up through this really crucial hairpin and onto the back straight. He was taking a different line. I was swinging it around the outside of this corner. Brad takes the inside, and then just using the throttle to rotate the car. And as we come in here, he's using a very unusual line through the final corner, but I think did cost him a little bit of time there. Going in blind is tricky. And let's find out what this result was out of quali. Fourth, you've just finished in, which we're happy with. So we're just discussing this. Third in practice, fourth in quali, sounds good. As they love to say on the TV, we can race from there. Right, just getting ready for the start. Starting P4. It's still pretty slippery, very cold. Brad's sitting in that, P4 position. We'll see what he can do. It's going to be the outside for the start, I think, which could actually be the fastest line. So let's see how he does. I'm very excited now. Let's go. Let's go. Hey, we're away. Go on, Brad. Come on. Now here's where I was hoping my plan was going to pay off. Recruiting a driver like Brad into a team with someone less experienced like me, this could be the secret. And as we get into the start here, you can see my plan is already paying off. So he's already up to P3 and going to have a look at P2 around the outside of this really treacherous hairpin here turn 4 as he swings it all the way around the outside. We are going to take P2, and Brad has come out absolutely flying into this first stint. Still with cold tyres, no one knows what the track is doing at this stage, and we've got a really quick, very professional looking team in front. So let's see what Brad can do through this stint to hold on to this great position we've got at the start here, because this was going to be an incredible race.
So first round of traffic from Brad, and he's still up in third. Great start, but the amount of traffic he's had to deal with, of people spinning, people all over the place, it's quite impressive to watch actually. Really, really cool to watch. Track is so full, so many yellows. We're hoping it kind of settles down and he can stay with those front two. So really good so far. Oh, I just see the crash.
Now, only a few laps into this race, Brad is in a battle with this team, the Window Lickers, in front, number 125, having a great battle, throwing it up the inside, trying to make it happen, but he was ahead as the yellow flag came out, so Brad had to back out of that. Now, this was actually a full course yellow, and so the two leaders in our class, in D-Max, actually go through the pit lane. So here they're taking one of their 5 mandatory stops and ticking it off already. Now, this was a really clever move that we didn't spot.
Right, only 5 laps in or so, there's already a full course yellow, so everyone squeezes up. It's so much carnage of the D-Maxes trying to get past the Sodis, because the pace difference is so large, but Brad's doing a really good job still in third.
Now, having said that, because the two drivers in front pitted, Brad is actually leading this race now. So Brad had to do as much as he could to carve through this traffic, put in some great times to come in the lead here. Because these teams have been racing here, this is their regular track. They've got team managers who are keeping track of the strategy from the side of the circuit. We were going to have to do this on track to pull ourselves back into it.
Go on, Brad.
Now, this was actually the moment everything went wrong. See that kart there? They've just unlapped themselves. They were one of the 2 karts that pitted under the full course yellow. Now, Brad was just trying to go with him here, actually bumping him down the straight, trying not to overtake and trying to learn. Now, as we get to this corner, Brad takes his inside line, the driver in front takes the outside line and just slips off the curb, and there's side-to-side contact. Now, the marshals actually deemed that to be an advantage by contact, a black flag, and so that lap, Brad actually had to come in to serve a 60-second penalty. Now, in Brad's video, he does a full breakdown actually explaining what happened there and showing you the details, so you should check that out after this video. But this was an agonising few seconds to give up in the race.
Okay, so you've been black flagged for an ABC takeout at turn 10.
Yeah, it was his fault, but that's fine.
Now, Brad didn't know this, but during that black flag, it was actually time to come in. So you can see with my very unusual camera angle, my 360 camera, waving this pit board to try and get his attention. And he had seen me, so now it's time for me to hop into the car. So with that, it was Callum Bourgeois' time to hop into the car, get the kart started, and drive at a painfully slow 2 miles an hour through the pit lane to keep everyone safe. But it's pretty hard with these pokey 2-stroke karts that really want to go. And once we get to this line, we're sending it. Now you can see just how fogged up my visor was. It was a really damp, cold evening. And so going into this corner, I'm faffing with that rather than focusing on the corner. We go a little bit deep, just try and finding where this grip is going to be. Now, our focus over the next few laps is to just get into a rhythm, get a feeling for what the track is doing, and define what our racing line is going to be for the rest of this, and stay out of trouble. Now, this didn't quite go to plan. Now, Now that actually feels quite embarrassing to show you because someone else got caught up in that. But here I just brake on the curb on the clean racing line, which has no grip. And after that, there was nothing I could do. And that poor Sodi driver, apologies there. And you can see just how important having a good mentality in racing is, because here, while my head was down, I was frustrated. I'd go and then make another mistake and could have thrown our race away again. So I had to have a real word with myself, sort it out, get your head up, focus in, and get going into the rest of this race. And we did manage to do that. And once I started to get a rhythm, I was really, really enjoying this race. As we go past the start-finish line here, I can see Brad waving at me, so it's time to come in. After what was actually a really good stint that started badly, we had some great pace here. Now, on my driver information display, when we went out, we were still in third with 1 lap ahead and 1 lap behind. Now, when we came in, that was still the case, so I definitely considered that a win as we go into the pit lane to then get Wade to hand the car over to Brad.
Okay? Yeah. It's a bit drier. I struggle, bloody hell, that was hard.
Is it getting a bit drier?
A little bit.
This isn't turning on, is it?
So with the cart given over to Brad, let's just get my first impressions from that crazy first stint.
What a baptism of fire that was. That was so tricky, so slippy. I made a few mistakes, well, quite big mistakes at the beginning. I reversed it into a barrier, but after that started to learn. So these next stints will be better, but my goodness, that was fun. And I need a burger. Brad's sending it back out straight up to pace, so let's go. Now I must be honest with you guys, I've come to Daytona for 2 reasons. One is this race, and the second are their burgers. So I'm gonna go get one of them now. I reckon that'll be perfect fuel for the next stint. Good secured. 2 smash burgers. Oh my god, look at the size of it.
Now, while I was munching down a burger, Brad was having a hell of a stint, incredible pace, but some of the most outrageous avoidance skills I've ever seen. Take a look at this one. This D-Max sends it in on the inside, takes out a Sodi, and Brad somehow manages to avoid all of them through that. So absolute chaos, some of this, and how he manages to just keep his foot down and pick his way through this is quite impressive. And so Brad had an incredible stint, again holding third, and then came in to hand me back the car. And now, equipped with more experience, it was time for me to hop in the car, and this stint was so much fun. Now knowing what these conditions were like, I knew where to point the cart for the most grip and really carry some good lap times through this stint. Now you can see just sometimes these clusters of other karts got formed. I got put out a little bit wide here, and now looking at the Sodis in front, trying to pick a time. I would shove it down the inside there, normally in the dry, but it was so slippery there. I had a look up the inside of this other D-Max kart. He wasn't having any of it, shoved up the inside of these guys ahead. And you can see once you get caught up behind people, yeah, the Maple Motorsport team then come past me as well, and then sticking out the inside, so it was constant racing. Sometimes you got patches where you were running it on your own, you had more space, and then sometimes you were really battling other drivers, and this was a great example. And the 103 team just loop it on the way in there. That was so easy to do. I did that earlier on in the stint, and just trying to pick your way through this was so tricky. And I had in the back of my mind, and I knew from the display that I was still in P3 here. My goal was not to lose any of the ground that Brad had made us up. So after my stint, there was 40 minutes left, so it made sense for Brad to double stint. We still had to do a change, so he went out. Unfortunately, there was a perfect time to box when there was a full course yellow, but we missed it, or Brad didn't see my sign anyway. But all good. He came in, ran round his kart that you have to do as part of the mandatory driver change. You can get back in, but you have to get out and run around it. So there's 10 minutes left. We're so close in third. I don't know if we're going to be able to catch the guys in front. They're both very fast and a lap ahead. But we'll see. Anything can happen here. The traffic is mental. We'll see. So Brad was back in the kart, giving it absolutely everything he could, and this is why you invite someone like him to be part of your team, because these laps he put in this final stint were absolutely incredible. Through some of the most tricky traffic, after a couple of full course yellows where everyone bunched up, Brad was finding his way through. Now I must be honest, the top two teams were super professional, very consistent, but they made the right calls at the right time. So the two full course yellows, they definitely capitalised from, and we missed them. And so they were a lap in front battling. Brad was really pushing, trying to pull in everything he could. But as we got towards the final lap, it was a little bit too little too late. But for a team assembled very last minute, rocking up to one of these events for the first time, coming away with a third place, we were over the moon with. So as Brad comes across the finish line to take a podium in a very serious event that we were very ill prepared for, we were very happy with that.
That was good fun. Thanks Daytona, thank you for these cool displays. These are really nice. We're getting smoke screen, which was unexpected.
And that strategy call actually wasn't the last rookie mistake.
No.
Brad and I thought we missed the podium. We went upstairs to get all of our stuff and missed the ceremony. So we were just running to make it onto the podium to collect our third place trophies. Well done. Oh, thank you so much.
Just one.
Thank you. Sorry for being late. Right, third place.
Yeah.
Super happy that we've got to be happy with that, right?
I can't believe it, to be honest.
Yeah.
When I saw the seriousness of this event when we arrived, and how good some of the drivers were.
We beat two teams with gazebos and like teams and radios and stuff, so really happy with that. I'm really happy we came and didn't look like losers.
Yeah.
Like, I knew you would rock up and be on the pace, but I was worried about mine.
I was confident you'd be fine because I saw you at GX UK. But the curveball here tonight was just the sheer number of teams, multi-class, and the fact that we were on slicks in the damp the whole time. It never dried, but it was always deathly slippery.
Yeah.
So you did really well to cope with that.
So two massive thanks from me. Daytona for inviting us. That's super awesome that they brought us along. It's a great event. You should check it out, link down below. And to Brad. So please go over and give him a subscribe. He does great karting content. You should definitely check it out. Cheers.